Did you know over 2,000 people get lost in the woods every year? Most people get out safely and are found, but some don't. And over 160 people every single year are never found again.
If you go down in the woods today, you're sure of a big surprise.
The Ritual is a rural, backwoods British horror film directed by David Bruckner, who horror fans might recognise as the guy behind VHS. The story follows 4 friends from England who are on a hiking trip in rural Sweden and end up in some spooky woods. Going away together is a tradition, but this time there's a much more serious reason for their trip. The 5th member of the gang, Robert, was murdered in a corner shop during the very first scene of the film. Before he died, hiking was his suggestion for the next holiday the lads take. So, 6 months on, the 4 surviving friends are respecting his final wish and they're honouring him with this hike. Our main character, Luke, played by Raf Spall, son of Timothy Spall, happened to be in that same shop at the time of Robert's murder, and he didn't step in to help, he hid, and that's something he's still carrying with him to this day. There's an unspoken tension between the group regarding those exact feelings, which become more and more apparent as the film goes on. Anyway, during the trip, one of the lads sprains his ankle, and the only realistic way for them to get to the lodge that they've booked for the night is to take a shortcut and instead of going around the mountains, go through the woods. As you can imagine, this is the worst idea ever, and from that point on, as you'd expect, the classic rural horror movie formula begins, and if you don't know what that is, please allow me. Some people, right? Plus some woods or a forest, plus a demonic evil or evil force or cannibals, equals trouble. That's the golden rule. A horror movie set in the woods with strange goings on is forever going to be likened to the Blair Witch Project, and this time I'd say it's pretty undeniable that there is an influence of that film here. Speaking of influences, The Ritual is actually based on a book of the same name published in 2011 by Adam Neville, and from what I've heard it's actually pretty similar. So if you have read the book, this is supposed to be a pretty faithful adaptation. This isn't a run-of-the-mill horror movie filled with jump scares every few minutes like your average James Wan film. The Ritual's got a certain grit to it that you can expect from British horror movies. Like, for the horror experts out there, there's hints of The Descent, Dog Soldiers, Eden Lake, and even Kill List here, which are all considered modern British horror classics in their own right. So if you've seen those movies, you'll know what to expect, but if you've only seen some of them, perhaps you've not seen any of them at all, then just know that this backwoods rural horror movie is not only going to be full of terror and fear, but also revenge and redemption, as is common but not exclusive to British horror films. The bickering and banter between the lads throughout the film really keeps the pace ramped up, and even in the downtime between the scares, there's enough interesting conversation and chemistry to keep you interested in the characters, which is normally a common complaint amongst film fans of horror movies, is that you just don't care about the characters enough. I can't say any more, I'm afraid, or I'll spoil it, but if you've already seen the movie or you've read the book, then I'm sure you'll agree that when you actually do find out what or who it is that's hunting down the lads and you get the big reveal, it feels really well done, and I think it was very clever of David Bruckner to keep some of the specific information on the wraps until the final few moments. If you're a fan of character development and some slow burn tension, then this is the film for you. It doesn't really ramp up until near the end of the film, but if you're okay with that, then this is going to be right up your street. And there you have it, The Ritual, one of my horror highlights of the year so far, and with Halloween just around the corner, I'll have to make sure that my next review is a horror movie as well. So if you enjoyed the video, be sure to check out some of my previous videos. I've only actually made 3 so far. I'm pretty new to YouTube, you know, so why not help me out by leaving a comment or a like? I'd love to hear what you think. And if you're interested in a movie review at least once a week, then why not subscribe for some more content? Thanks a lot, and maybe I'll see you next time.